That is the question.
Dictionary. A reference book containing an alphabetical list of words with information given for each word, usually including meaning, pronunciation, and etymology. 2. A book listing the words of a language with translations into another language. 3. A book listing words of other linguistic items in a particular category or subject with specialized information about them. A medical dictionary. 4. Computer science. A list of words stored in machine-readable form for reference, as by spelling checking software. B. An electronic spelling checker. Medieval Latin Dictionarium, from Latin dictio, diction, see diction. And that was from the American Heritage Dictionary of the English Language, 4th edition, produced by the Houghton Mifflin Company. Welcome to Tea Time with Cassius. My name is Cassius King, and I am the producer of this show. The things that you will hear over the next approximately 40 minutes represent the views and opinions of this show and the people making them. All opinions and quotations in no way represent River West Radio and are the sole responsibility of the producer, guests, and callers. River West Radio is not liable for any legal issues arising from the content of this program. In circumstances of life and death, the chances of living are 3 out of 10. The chances of dying are 3 out of 10. In ordinary living conditions, where activity is the province of death, the chances are also 3 in 10. Why is this so? Because of the propagative force of the life principle. It is said that those who cultivate the life principle can travel without encountering a tiger or wild buffalo. In battle, no weapon can penetrate their armor. The wild buffalo's horns find nothing to gore, the tiger's claws nothing to flay, and weapons find no place for their points to penetrate. Why is this so? Because for them there is no province of death. Lecture. In a life and death situation such as battle, the possibilities of living or dying are 30%. Moreover, in ordinary living conditions, where activity is the province of death, one lives or dies of his own doing. Here also, the probabilities are 30%. Because of the propagative force of the life principle, there are more who live than die. Those who cultivate the life principle do not meet death. The great difference is that they practice non-action. Like an infant whose vigor of sprouting life presents no opportunity for death to enter, I suggest a comparative study of this chapter and chapter 55. And that is a reading from Lao Tzu, My Words Are Very Easy to Understand, Lectures on the Tao Te Ching by Manjiang Chong, translated from the Chinese by Tam C. Gibbs, and that was chapter 50. Today's recipe is hummus. This recipe will make about 6 servings. Begin by soaking chickpeas early in the day. You'll need cooking and cooling time as well. Hummus is a chickpea pate of Middle Eastern origins. It is a spicy and rich spread, full of protein. You can use it as a sandwich spread or an appetizer dip. Scoop it up with pieces of pocket bread, pita, and sticks of raw vegetables. You can also build an entire meal around a plateful of hummus, vegetables, and bread. It's filling enough. The ingredients that you'll need are 1½ cups raw chickpeas, soaked for 1½ hours and boiled until very soft, about 1½ hours. 3 medium cloves minced garlic, 1½ teaspoons of salt, a dash of tamari, juice from 2 medium lemons, 3/4 cup tahini, 1/4 cup packed finely minced parsley, lots of black pepper, and a dash of cayenne, 1/4 cup minced scallions. Mash the chickpeas to a thick paste using a food mill or grinder, or a masher. Combine everything and chill thoroughly. Taste to correct seasonings. Some people like extra garlic, tamari, or tahini, or maybe even hot pepper. And that is a recipe for hummus. From the Moosewood Cookbook by Molly Katzen. When Wen Su asked him about government, Lao Tzu said, "Guide by the way, nurture with virtue, do not make a display of wits, do not exert pressure, be minimal, and hold to unity, handling nothing considered profitable, and displaying nothing considered desirable. Be upright and honest, but without causing hurt or harm. Have no conceit or pride. Guide them by the way and the people will be loyal. Nurture them with virtue, and the people will obey. Don't make a display of wits, and the people will be content. Don't exert pressure, and the people will be simple. Not to make a display of wits is restraint. Not to exert pressure is not being presumptuous. Gather people by humility, win them by generosity. Preserve yourself by restraint, and do not dare to be complacent. If you are not humble, people will become estranged and alienated. If you do not nurture them, the people will be rebellious. If you make a display of wits, the people will be contentious. If you exert pressure, the people will be resentful. When the people are estranged and alienated, the strength of the nation wanes. When the people rebel, the leadership has no authority. When people are contentious, they easily do wrong. When those below resent those above, then rank is dangerous. When these four things are sincerely cultivated, the right way is near.
Well, I guess I'm.
Panopticism. From discipline and punish. Discipline may be identified neither with an institution nor with an apparatus. It is a type of power, a modality for its exercise, comprising a whole set of instruments, techniques, procedures, levels of application, targets. It is a physics or an anatomy of power, a technology. And it may be taken over either by specialized institutions, the penitentiaries or houses of correction of the 19th century, or by institutions that use it as an essential instrument for a particular end, schools, hospitals, etc., or by pre-existing authorities that find in it a means of reinforcing or reorganizing their internal mechanisms of power. One day we should show how infamilial relations, especially in the parent-children cell, have become disciplined, absorbing since the classical age external schemata, first educational and military, then medical, psychiatric, psychological, which have made the family the privileged locus of emergence for the disciplinary question of the normal and the abnormal, or by apparatuses that have made discipline their principle of internal functioning, the disciplinarization of the administrative apparatus from the Napoleonic period, or finally by state apparatuses whose major, if not exclusive, function is to assure that discipline reigns over society as a whole, the police. On the whole, therefore, one can speak of the formation of a disciplinary society in this movement that stretches from the enclosed disciplines, a sort of social quarantine, to an indefinitely generalized mechanism of panopticism. Not because the disciplinary modality of power has replaced all the other, but because it has infiltrated the other, sometimes undermining them, but serving as an intermediary between them, linking them together, extending them, and above all, making it possible to bring the effects of power to the most minute and distant elements. It ensures an infinitesimal distribution of the power relations. The formation of the disciplinary society is connected with a number of broad historical processes, economic, juridico-political, and lastly, scientific, of which it forms part. Generally speaking, it might be said that the disciplines are techniques for assuring the ordering of human multiplicities. It is true that there is nothing exceptional or even characteristic in this. Every system of power is presented with the same problem.
Yep, I got it.
Have a good one, thanks.
But the peculiarity
Bye.
of the disciplines is that they try to define, in relation to the multiplicities, a tactics of power that fulfills three criteria. First, to obtain the exercise of power at the lowest possible cost, economically by the low expenditure it involves, politically by its discretion, its low exteriorization, its relative invisibility, the little resistance it arouses. Second, to bring the effects of this social power to their maximum intensity and to extend them as far as possible without either failure or interval. Third, to link this economic growth of power with the output of the apparatus, educational, military, industrial, or medical, within it is exercised. In short, to increase both the docility and the utility of all the elements of the system. This triple objective of the disciplines corresponds to a well-known historical conjuncture. One aspect of this conjuncture was the large demographic thrust of the 18th century, an increase in the floating population. One of the primary objects of discipline is to fix. It is an anti-nomadic technique, a change of quantitative scale in the groups to be supervised or manipulated. From the beginning of the 17th century to the eve of the French Revolution, the school population had been increasingly rapidly, as had no doubt the hospital population. By the end of the 18th century, the peacetime army exceeded 200,000 men. The other aspect of the conjuncture was the growth in the apparatus of production, which was becoming more and more extended and complex. It was also becoming more costly, and its profitability had to be increased. The development of the disciplinary methods corresponded to these two processes, or rather, no doubt, to the new need to adjust their correlation. Neither the residual forms of feudal power, nor the structures of the administrative monarchy, nor the local mechanisms of supervision, nor the unstable, tangled mass they all formed together could carry out this role. They were hindered from doing so by the irregular and inadequate extension of their network, by their often conflicting functioning, but above all by the costly nature of the power that was exercised in them. It was costly in several senses because directly it cost a great deal to the treasury, because the system of corrupt offices and farmed-out taxes weighted indirectly but very heavily on the population, because the resistance it encountered forced it into a cycle of perpetual reinforcement, because it proceeded essentially by levying on money or products by royal, seigneurial, ecclesiastical taxation, levying on men or time by corvées of press gauging, by locking up or banishing vagabonds. The development of the disciplines marks the appearance of elementary techniques belonging to a quite different economy. Mechanisms of power which, instead of proceeding by deduction, are integrated into the productive efficiency of the apparatuses from within, into the growth of the efficiency and into the use of what it produces. For the old principle of levying violence, which governed the economy of power, the disciplines substitute the principle of mildness, production, profit. These are the techniques that make it possible to adjust the multiplicity of men and the multiplication of the apparatuses of production. And this means not only production in the strict sense, but also the production of knowledge and skills in the school, the production of health in the hospitals, the production of destructive force in the army. In this task of adjustment, discipline had to solve a number of problems for which the old economy of power was not sufficiently equipped. It could reduce the inefficiency of mass phenomena, reduce what in a multiplicity makes it much less manageable than a unity, reduce what is opposed to the use of each of its elements and of their sum. Reduce everything that may counter the advantages of number. That is why discipline fixes. It arrests or regulates movement. It clears up confusion. It dissipates compact groupings of individuals wandering about the country in unpredictable ways. It establishes calculated distributions. it must also master all the forces that are formed from the very constitution of an organized multiplicity. It must neutralize the effects of counterpower that spring from them and which form a resistance to the power that wishes to dominate it. Agitations, revolts, spontaneous organizations, coalitions, anything that may establish horizontal conjunctions. Hence, the fact that the disciplines use procedures of partitioning and verticality that they introduce between the different elements at the same level, as solid separations as possible, that they define compact hierarchical networks, in short, that they oppose to the intrinsic adverse force of multiplicity. The technique of the continuous individualizing pyramid. They must also increase the particular unity of each element of the multiplicity, but by means that are the most rapid and the least costly, that is to say, by using the multiplicity itself as an instrument of its growth. Hence, in order to exact from bodies the maximum time and force, the use of those overall methods known as timetables, collective training, exercises, total and detailed surveillance. Furthermore, the disciplines must increase the effect of utility proper to the multiplicities, so that each is made more useful than the simple sum of its elements. It is in order to increase the utilizable effects of the multiple that the disciplines define tactics of distribution, reciprocal adjustment of bodies, gestures, and rhythms, differentiation of capacities, reciprocal coordination in relation to the apparatuses or tasks. Lastly, the disciplines have to bring into play the power relations, not above but inside the very texture of the multiplicity, as discreetly as possible, as well articulated on the other functions of these multiplicities, and also in the lesser expensive way possible. To this correspond anonymous instrument of power coextensive with the multiplicity that they regiment, such as hierarchical surveillance, continuous registration, perpetual assessment, and classification. In short, to substitute for a power that is manifested through the brilliance of those who exercise it, a power that insidiously objectifies on whom it is applied, to form a body of knowledge about these individuals, rather than to deploy the ostentatious signs of sovereignty. In a word, the disciplines are the ensemble of a minute technical inventions that made it possible to increase the useful size of multiplicities by decreasing the inconvenience of the power which, in order to make them useful, most control them. A multiplicity, whether in a workshop or a nation, an army or a school, reaches the threshold of a discipline when the relation of the one to the other becomes favorable. That has been a reading of The Foucault Reader by Paul Rabinow, the editor. An introduction to Foucault's thought with major new unpublished material, published by Pantheon Books. That was a reading from the chapter Panopticism. Tune in next week for a continuation of the chapter Panopticism from the Foucault Reader. using large whole fish. Prepare, dress clean as above, removing the head if you wish. Pack and seal, freeze glaze with ice. Wrap snugly with moisture vapor-proof covering, using the butcher wrap or drugstore fold. Then overwrap for security, seal, label, and store in the freezer. The new Putting Food By.
In 1972,